Hey everyone, welcome to March. So here we are. Remember how I have been for a long time talking about that we are in a time of transition? Well, we are smack in the time of transition right now. There is no denying that there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now in the world. This time period astrologically is lasting for another year plus. So end of spring of 2026. So we are kind of in this time of change, in this time of transformation. In particular, this month, there's a lot of review about uh, relationships. Like we're in a time of like really kind of like what like past relationship stuff could be coming up for you. There could be just like a lot of the mind kind of going, oh gosh, did I do that right? Could I have done something different? And so it's just up for us to review, to look at, to just reevaluate, like what's our part in all of this? Like, where are we going? Who are we in this time of change, in this time of this period of relationship, which is kind of like what we're all globally working on right now? So transformation, transformation. We also have two eclipses happening this month, and we have Mercury retrograde happening this month. So all of that to mean a lot is happening. So what to do about it? I try to be as practical as possible with these recordings to just give you tools because that's the way that I survive all of this stuff. So I don't know if you are aware of, but my husband is a federal employee. So we personally are being very highly affected by the changes within the government, the layoffs, the cutbacks, all of the stuff, so our personal security is being highly affected right at this moment. And it's a really interesting process, right? Like for all the things that I've been talking about all these years and all my studies, like how this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Like I am in the midst of, okay, what am I practicing right now? What is it that I need to do? What do we need to do as a family to not fall into the depths of fear, not fall into a place of lack and scarcity? And so how do we regulate our nervous systems in this, right? Like obviously Chris is much more in it. He's in the environment where all the change is happening. So he's really getting a heavy dose of the change. And then there's me, his partner, and like how do I support someone in a time of change, right? When it's also affecting me. So this is like a really big kind of question right now with all that's happening, right? I'm sure all of you know somebody who's being affected on one way or another about the changes that are happening. And so what do we do to kind of keep steady, to keep like from falling into the abyss of despair, right? Like not to be over dramatic, but it can be really hard, right? When everything seems like it's changing, when all the stuff that we count on and have depended on for our whole lives is all of a sudden in this upheaval, as if, like the earthquake, right? Like whenever the ground shakes, you're just like, whoa, the ground's supposed to be stable, and it's super disorienting. So take a breath, right? Like always, like for me, it's always starts with coming back to me, coming back to my center. Right here, right now, present moment is where the magic happens, is where the moment of it's the present moment. I'm safe right at this moment. I am okay, right? Like so coming in to that space, just taking a breath, feeling the weight of my body on the chair, feeling my feet on the floor, right? Grounding into the earth. I say this ad nauseum in all of my teachings because it's really important. So that's like a really quick way of regulating nervous system, taking a breath, grounding to the earth. And then there's this other aspect of whenever there is change, there's always a level of grief that comes to the change, right? Like, so how do you handle the grief? How do we acknowledge and honor the fact that these endings are, there's a sadness to it, there's a grief to it, there's a level of um, really needing to hold our hearts, hold our souls, hold ourself in a honoring, compassion, kindness. Like this is there was one prediction that I heard from an astrologer, and he described this year as being worse than the pandemic. And when I heard that 6 months ago, I was just like, what? No way. And yet I'm starting to get a sense of like what he was talking about, right? Like this is, we astrologically are going through a really, really huge shift. We are um we are big picture is that the vibration of the earth is changing, that there's this like change of there's a shift of like the old system and the old patterns are breaking. And again, those old patterns are what we have counted on for our whole lives, right? Like so this might be a good thing long term that these patterns are breaking, and yet in the moment it's super disorienting and dysregulating. So acknowledging this, like in the moment, this grief of these endings, the transitions, like just a transition of a season is an ending, right? Like we go through these cycles all the time. So this cycle that we're in of this ending of this old system is just this really disorienting process. So how can you hold, what does it take to hold sort of like this truth, faith, uh, belief that what we are moving to is a good thing? So this is me going to the higher, bigger picture of like what the shift is all about, and yet still be in my body and be in this human discomfort, right? Like, so how do you hold the love, the faith is the only word that's coming into my mind right now, like, but like what is it that like keeps you focused on the fact that if you keep feeling love in your heart, if you keep having compassion in your heart, if you still bring joy and humor and all those sort of higher vibration energies into your life, that will counteract the fear, the darkness, the despair, right? So it's like, so that is me, spiritual being in my human body sort of analogy, right? Like spiritually, I hold this vision that we are moving as a planet into a more light-filled, love-filled um, reality, and yet physically, human wise, all I'm seeing is the fear and the disruption and the sort of and the grief and all this stuff that feels really heavy. So like it's a duality, right? We're living in a time of just extreme duality. And so what are you going to focus on, right? Like it's like our thoughts create our reality. And so if you are only focusing on the heaviness, the fear, this is everything's falling apart, we're going to hell in a handbasket, right? Like then that's all you're going to see. But if you sit there and go, okay, how can I still bring humor into my life? How can I still feel love in my heart and compassion and for my in my heart for people that hold differing ideas, and to hold uh uh I mean, start small, right? Don't go for like people that have different ideas with you. Focus on the butterflies, focus on the flowers, focus on the fact that spring is coming and there's like blooming, this new season is coming, and it always comes. These cycles always come. This is just life doing what life always does. So how do you bring the love and the joy and the humor and the laughter and the compassion into your heart, into your body, to help balance out the heavy. So there's this thing that I keep thinking about, like, when there's darkness, if you go down into a basement, and I used to be incredibly afraid of the basement because it was so dark and scary, right? And I didn't know the boogeyman was down there. But as soon as you turn the light on, it's not so scary anymore, right? The darkness goes away as soon as the light is turned on. So this is what we need to do. We need to expand the flame of love and light inside of our body so that it radiates out, and so that it helps to counterbalance the heaviness and the darkness that is being so loud and dominant right now in the world. So so radiating your light, radiating love, small little ways, has a huge rippling effect. You do not have to change the world. It is about just sort of changing your self moment to moment, so that you help to regulate your nervous system, so that then there's this space to be able to hold space and a container for people that might be having it a little bit harder. I mean, so this is like my practice right now with me and my husband, right? Like, he's going through, his whole reality is shifting with his work career. And how can I hold that? How can I be of a support for him and yet not fall into it, so that I'm also in fear, which then we both spiral. If I stay in a place of grounded, loving support, knowing that we're going to make it through this, then it helps to kind of bolster the situation to a point where it doesn't consume and affect our health, right? Because that's such a huge thing that's starting to happen right now. People are just having a really hard time mentally and emotionally and physically, just because of all of this change. So I hope that is helpful. I feel like I jumped a lot over the place, and that there was a lot of things that I said. So I hope that I hope you got like even a little bit of like a thread through this whole thing. This month is going to be a lot of change. Eclipses are about transformation, and so there might be some personal stuff that happens for you. Mercury retrograde, slow down, slow down, slow down. That doesn't start till, I think it was March 15th is the beginning of that one. And then this Venus retrograde is all about reviewing relationships. And so there's a lot of review happening right now. There's a lot of processing. So if it feels uncomfortable, what do you need to do to get into your body? Exercise, go for a walk, smell the flowers, feel the sun on your face, right? Feel the rain on your face wherever you live. And then just know that this is a cycle and we will make it through this. And the more that we band together, I mean, the one thing that's really amazing is the community support that is rallying around us, and their concern and love for us. And that's amazing. And there's been a little bit of a lack of that. Like, I think the pandemic separated us all, and right now we're coming back into a little more of a sense of community and support. And that's incredible. So hang in there, you guys. This is a little bit of a bumpy month, and yet it can also be incredibly creative and transformative. And so trust your intuition and trust like where you are being guided to go, because that can make a huge difference also. This isn't all bad. It's just uncomfortable. Okay. Take care, you guys. I wish you all well. Bye-bye.